You've done way more than you give yourself credit for. I don't know your specific story, but I bet almost anything there's a version of you from a few years ago who'd look at where you are right now and be genuinely proud. And somehow, that's not enough for the version of you standing here today. That's not a coincidence, it's a pattern, and I don't think enough people ever name it out loud. I've always beaten myself up, not literally, but almost everything I've ever done, no matter how impressive it might have looked from the outside, never felt like enough to me while I was actually living it. I'd hit a goal, and by the time I noticed, I was already 3 goals further down the road, treating the thing I just accomplished like it barely even happened. In some ways, that's not entirely bad. It's part of what keeps pushing me forward, but it's also genuinely dehumanizing. It just is. There's no version of constant internal criticism that doesn't wear a person down eventually, no matter how much progress it produces along the way. So if nobody's ever looked you in the face and said this plainly, you don't have to beat yourself up. You're allowed to be proud of yourself. I don't know if anyone's ever actually told you that without a caveat attached to it. Think about the actual list for a second. Not the highlight reel, the real one. Every early morning you showed up when you didn't feel like it. Did you give yourself credit for that? Every conversation you had that scared you, that you had anyway, did you give yourself credit for that? Every version of yourself you left behind on purpose because you knew you needed to be someone else. Did you give yourself credit for that? Most people can't answer yes to any of it. Not because the moments didn't happen, they did, but because the second they were over, you were already looking at the next thing you hadn't done yet. I remember the day I graduated high school. I was valedictorian. I gave the speech. I sat in the first chair right at the very front. I had the medal around my throat, and it felt average. Not bad, not like genuinely not bad, just average. Because somewhere along the way, that had become what I expected of myself. So there was nothing left over to actually feel proud about. That's the trap. When you expect something because that's just what you do, you quietly cut off the positive reinforcement that's supposed to come from actually doing it. You undermine your own achievement in real time without even noticing you're doing it. Did you give yourself credit for that? None of it ever really mattered as much as it felt like it did in the moment. What your parents thought, what an ex thought, what your friends think, what some stranger at the gym happens to think when they glance your way. Too many people live their entire lives inside a small bubble, terrified someone on the outside is going to reach in and pop it. Just be happy in your bubble. Nobody's coming to grade it. You've got so much you could genuinely give yourself credit for, and yet you diminish almost all of it because it doesn't clear some invisible bar you never actually set for yourself. That bar usually didn't come from you in the first place. It came from somewhere else. A scroll on a phone, a supercar someone posted, a number someone else decided mattered. That's really where it originates, unless you were just born wired as a perfectionist who's always chasing more, in which case that's a different conversation, but the same fix applies either way. Neither extreme is actually right. You need to be able to be content with where you are, even while you still genuinely want more. Those two things aren't in conflict, no matter how much it feels like they should cancel each other out. Just because you can picture a different life than the one you're currently living doesn't mean the one you're in right now is entirely your fault. It also doesn't mean you're permanently stuck there. Wanting more and being at peace with where you currently stand can exist in the same person, at the same time, without either one canceling the other out. You're allowed to feel grateful. You're allowed to genuinely appreciate the small things along the way, not just whatever finish line you've decided actually counts. Practically, this means noticing the kind of progress that doesn't look impressive enough to post anywhere. The fact that you showed up today, the fact that you're watching something like this at all, actually thinking seriously about your own life instead of scrolling past it. That counts. Even when it doesn't feel like enough in the moment, especially then, actually. Giving yourself credit isn't the same as lowering your standards. It just means you stop treating every accomplishment like it's worthless unless it's the single biggest one you could have possibly had. So, whatever you've built so far, however far you've come, however far you've still got to go, give yourself the credit. Actually give it, not the version where you nod along and immediately go back to what's still missing. You're allowed to be proud and still want more in the exact same breath. Both of those get to be true. You did that. Whatever that is for you, you actually did it. Let yourself know it. See you in the next one.